the question you have to ask yourself, what kind of hook and what kind of string are you going to use today? And so what I recommend was a size J hook. It was a 6.0 millimeter that I've covered earlier in this series. And I would look at, if you've not crocheted before, maybe look at the Red Heart Comfort yarn or the Bernat Super Saver. I find both of these yarns are very inexpensive in order to kind of train yourself. They are a 4-ply worsted yarn, so they're pretty inexpensive. You usually get quite a bit. They'll take you a long way. And you can look at other types of yarns that you want to see on the shelf. And the problem with major retailers is that you're inundated with selections that you're really not sure if you can crochet with. For example, this is the Baby Cloud yarn that is available, and this is extremely difficult to crochet with. So, you know, as much as it looks really nice, it's very difficult to crochet with because you need to use your fingers, because you really can't see the stitches that clearly. So you need to use your fingers in order to feel exactly where the stitches are, and that's still a challenge within itself. You're going to see yarns that are really fabulous, and this is called eyelash yarn. So basically what happens is you get a really thin string. So let me see if I can pull that out for you. You get a really thin string, and then all of a sudden the eyelashes are coming off of that little thin string. So if you make anything with this crochet stuff, it's going to be very abrasive, because this is eyelash yarn for the most part, and depending on what kind of eyelash yarn it is. But the string is so thin that your material is probably going to be like curtains, really see-throughable. So if you're looking to make a hat out of something like this, it's virtually impossible. Also, because of the eyelash yarn is coming off with all those gazillion strings, it is virtually impossible to see exactly where your stitches are going to be. So for that, I would totally, absolutely stay away from the eyelash yarn until you're actually really comfortable. And what I do with my little secret with eyelash yarn is that I choose the complementary color. So in actual fact, I would have chosen blue, and I would have put the blue eyelash, because it's so thin, with the regular blue ball of material, and actually crocheted it together, because then that can actually help you see the stitches. But we can cover that at another episode of onmikeysmail.com. So you have to stay away. So as much as this stuff is fabulous, it's shiny, it's brilliant, it's something that you totally want to stay away from. Now, changing colors in your project are really, it doesn't sound like such a big deal, but you want to make sure that your yarn is within the same family. For example, we have the Bernat Softy Chunky, and that really produces a nice chunk that I've been working with during the episodes here on the DVD. And what happens is with this one here, it's extremely thick, and that's because the yarn is really thick. But if all of a sudden I switch over to the Red Heart Comfort, it's a lot thinner, the yarn. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to have a really plush look with the soft and chunky, but then all of a sudden I'm going to crochet with this stuff here that does not have that plushness, and all of a sudden you're going to actually see your project shrink because the yarn is not as thick. So you want to make sure, if you're changing colors like I have here, that you're staying within the same family of yarn. Now we want to match the yarn to the hook, and most pattern books actually tell you that you need a certain size hook to the actual yarn. And you're thinking, okay, well, I don't have that size hook, how is it going to matter? And the reason for it, we talked about it earlier, is that I can do this exact same baby hat with a bigger hook using the exact same stitch counts, and actually end up with a bigger project by increasing my hook from a size G to something greater. So what we need to do is look at what kind of yarn fits in the actual hook. So if you want to design something for yourself, this is a size D, and I did all the Barbie clothes with this one here, and this is the Bernat 4-ply Softy Chunky. And when I go to put it on the hook, it barely fits within the actual hook itself. Therefore, this material is too big to use with this hook. So we have to determine, okay, that's not going to work, so we can increase our hook sizes. So if I was doing baby stuff, I would probably go to the size G here, and so it fits in a lot better than it did, and it will cause your knitting to be nice and tight, or crochet to be nice and tight, just like so. But then if I want something for myself, maybe a signature hat like I showed earlier, I might want to go to a size J or a K to make my stitches even bigger, that I know that will fit within this hook. So the short story to a long story basically is that you got to choose your hook that matches your material. For example, this is a size K here. This is the 4-ply worsted Super Saver yarn from Bernat or Red Heart, and it is almost, the size K is almost too big for this hook.
And I can tell that because it's just a little bit too thin. So when you're going to use this, it actually will cause your material to be really loose looking. Unless that's what you're going for, it's not always suitable. So maybe just decrease, maybe going down 1 or even 2 will make your crochet a little bit tighter and a lot more organized when you're actually going to finish your project.